very good afternoon to the students, aspiring students who have just about to join, and
they're joining.
the students who are already here in UPS. Very good afternoon, and I welcome the very prestigious person in the animation industry, I would say, and was favorite of everyone, Mr. Suresh.
Thank you so much,
I
Sanjay.
welcome
Thank you.
So we will be starting this webinar on the behalf of UPES, as I would like to just talk about UPES for 2 minutes for the aspiring students. UPS stands for University of Petroleum and Energy Studies. Well, it doesn't sound like any design there, but there's a lot in it. You have to double tap on it. So it started, actually the whole campus, university started in 2003. And the design department, the first design department as a transportation design with nearly 10 students, it started in 2013. And from there onwards, there is no looking back. And we are right now more than 700 to 800 students. And we have 8 disciplines in UG. And in PG, we have 4 disciplines. So in total, we have 12 disciplines. That includes graphic design, animation and VFX, interior design, product design, transportation design, fashion design. So there are total 8 specialization in UG and 4 in PG. This campus is one of the very beautiful campus. Like, I was just sold in 1 minute the moment I knew that okay, this is the backdrop, and I'm sure this is the case for many. But yes, that is true. It's just in the laps of Himalayas, where ideas will run behind you. You don't have to run behind the idea. Probably the ideas will run behind you. Wow. Now I'll request Suresh if we can start with knowing your journey. There's a big contribution have been in this animation industry over here. If I would say the 2 names I always knew when I was a student in NAD. And it is my pleasure that I can say you are my senior. And we have shared things at main gate and all. So anyway, So you have been a really inspiring figure for us. And as Ram Mohan, we used to hear a lot about him. So we would love to know that what is your your journey has been, how you see Indian animation industry now, and there are a lot of things, and the questions will be coming from the aspiring students and the current students that we one by one, probably once we go through your talk. So over to you, Suresh.
All right. Thank you, Sanjay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be with all of you here. Of course, this is the new normal, as they say. That we have to meet people, so many people. I think there's already 97 plus another 6-7 of and the people on the Facebook Live. None of them I can see. I can't see any of you.
That's the good part of it, actually.
That's a great part of it. That I'm talking to so many people, and yet I'm talking to nobody, which is great. And I would like to give you a little bit of insight into my journey. I'm from a place in Kerala called Tripunithura. It's a small town in Kochi. And I was like many of you. In today's times, you all have a lot of ideas about your future career, etc. At least some notion about it. But during those years, I'm talking about. I'm not that old as I look. But yes, I'm. In 1991, when I finished my 12th, I had no idea about what I should be doing. To be really honest, I have I prepared in my 11th and 12th. I studied in CBSE. Many of you also must be must have studied in the CBSE scheme of education. Uh, and I was like most of the students in my batch. I wanted to get into engineering, and I aspired to be in IIT to become an engineer. And I thought electronics engineering is the most well-paying possibility of those times, and studied, prepared a lot to get into an engineering college. And
Mm-hmm.
by the way, there is a backstory to how I got into, I got to know about NID, National Institute of
Mm-hmm.
Design, where I studied. But National Institute of Design was one of the places that I applied. It's quite funny if I say that, I even applied to NDA, National Defense Academy, you know, because NDA, NID, IIT. So there were many options which we were trying. Of course, I had a flair for aesthetics and art and music and fine arts. So uh, I also happened to apply to NIT, and I can very well tell you that getting into NID was a life-changing phenomenon for me. I am what I am, and whatever I have done is absolutely rooted. It's basically rooted to the fundamentals and the confidence that institute has given. So how important is certain decisions that young age. I was all of 17 when I finished my 12th, while I was gambling with various exam possibilities, and I got into NID my first attempt. There were no coaching classes, there were no internet studying
Mm-hmm.
facilities, or like today you have a lot of online classes. There was no such possibility to even understand what would be the question that will be there in the entrance examination, because the way I went for my entrance examination, that was in Chennai. It was
Mm-hmm.
the first time I was traveling to Chennai, that
Oh, okay.
in 90 in 1990 November it was. And uh, the the way I went to write the exam was that, okay, this time I'll write and see what the exam is like. Next time I'll prepare and go and get into an ID.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this time it's
So
going to
you
be
went with
Reiki.
them that mindset.
I went with that mindset. That this time let me understand what this whole thing is about, and next time I will prepare and go and I'll get through. But luckily I got through. I think it is. I mean, in retrospect, I think it was really lucky for me to get into NID. Considering, I think along with me there were two people from Kerala
Okay.
who got into, yeah,
Okay.
just two of us got into
Okay.
NID from so it was
S-
quite crazy how it kind of worked out.
Uh,
And yeah,
I was
so
just sorry. I was just saying that it'll be interesting to share the story if you could. That how the habit of you had really, got the break ice from some stranger person.
ah, so this is something that I always tell everyone, that drawing and sketching has always helped me. And in Kerala, I think everywhere in India, we have these local painting competitions that happen, and I used to be a regular at these competitions, and my father used to take me to these. And during I think it was in August 1990.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing this painting competition where I was painting according to, they used to give subjects and I was painting. And after a regular ceremony is like, once you do your 2.5 hour painting session, you keep your painting on display, and you move away so that the public, the
Right.
audience can come into the hall and see everyone's paintings. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a moment of pride for one to see how many people are crowding at your painting, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was something that was very satisfying those days, that if too many people are crowding next to your painting, you feel very satisfied. Okay, I've done something interesting.
Yeah.
So it was a moment like that where a small crowd had surrounded my painting, and one of the persons from there kind of leaned out and asked me and said that, you're very good. You should get into NID. And that was the time we heard what is NID. All of you must remember that there is no Google. There is no way one can find out what possibilities are there way back in 1990. You have no access to information. Only way you can correspond with each other is through letters, writing letter and sending it. There is not even computer printout concept. Okay, you cannot even type a letter. Only way of typing is with the typewriter. So this is when my father was also there. He always accompanies me when I go for this competition. He asked that man, so how do we know when is the admission? What is the procedure? So he said, you just look out in the newspaper. There will be a advertisement that will come around September end for announcing that you can now get the application forms, and then you fill in the application, and then the process will follow. That's how it happened. It's so strange that somebody who had no notion about an ID being told about an ID by some stranger who's got no business, and how that has changed my life, and how much it has had an impact. Somebody's thing. I always attribute it to painting. I always attribute this to sketching habit that I've had, that from childhood. So it's somewhere, I think, irrespective of that, I feel.
So,
Yeah.
did you have any exposure to the art, or anybody in the family or in the society you had to look
Yeah.
up
I
for?
think, yeah, in my family, see, the where I grew up, it's a small town, but it's like there is a lot of access to art. Okay, there was a lot of access to art, music, traditional arts, performance arts, Kathakali, and all those things were very, very big. Classical music, Carnatic music was very accessible.
Yeah.
There were a lot of artists around, and my uncle was an artist. My sisters also used to paint, so there was an environment of art in our house. And I had a good art teacher in my school, who took special attention for me to get into art in a very different way. He used to also give me some private lessons because I asked for it, where we used to go out cycling to various places. Beautiful, as Kerala is very beautiful. And those 30 years ago, it was even more beautiful. So we used to go to places where there were no people, go out there and sketch and paint, etc., etc., which is something that nobody used to do that time. Even though it was accessible for everyone, people were not that outgoing to do such an initiative. So that gave me an interest. So while I was more keen towards getting into music, I wanted to get professionally into singing, and that was the more weightage was given to music than art. When
Okay.
my Yeah, so but NID kind of changed that whole perspective for me, and at NID it was kind of came to light that this is where my destiny is. And I think with the help of the seniors, the community, the teachers, it just kind of worked out that I got a better sense of direction at NID.
Yeah. Okay. So after NIT, how did you get into famous studio, or before that, was there any journey which we don't know?
Okay,
Like
so
how did?
at even at NID, as you know, I specialized into communication design. Earlier, the format used to be in 1 year of foundation, where you study everything. Like you study industrial design, you get exposure to. I've even done crochet, I've done embroidery, I have
Same
done
as we
weaving.
have here in
Yeah,
UPS.
so
Yeah.
UPS also has that.
Same.
I
Yeah.
think it's a fantastic model for somebody to get interested in things. Pottery, I used to do ceramics.
Yeah.
I mean, there was woodwork involved. There was product design. You also make models with,
Yeah.
the
They get exposed
various
to all kind of
models,
various
all sorts
materials.
of
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
after that first year, I got into communication design, right?
Mhm.
And communication design, or visual communication, as we used to call it that time. had animation, graphic design, exhibition design. There was video filmmaking. So these were the four different disciplines that they had. I hope I'm not missing it. So it was graphic design, for video filmmaking, and animation design and exhibition design. These are the four major disciplines. There was photography and many other studios that gave us access, and it was fantastic exposure we used to get. So the next 2 years, second and third year, we had to do that, and the fourth year we had to get into super specialization.
Okay.
So fourth year is when uh, I was given animation.
Okay,
Sanjay.
given.
It was I was told by my jury that I was pretty introverted, where I would be sitting with my light table and I'll be animating or drawing or whatever. So teachers, my jury thought that Suresh, you are very introverted. You're too much into yourself. You'll do much better if you do animation, because animation where you don't need anybody, you can sit and make your own film. That was the notion
Yeah.
that they had. It's another thing that I'm talking to the world today. I'm I'm doing other sort of films also because of that is decision to get into animation. But the choice was given to me like that, and believe me, those days nobody wanted to take up animation, because those
Oh,
days
okay.
there was no computer
Yeah.
assisted animation. So it was all hand done. Everything
Hand
was
done. Yes.
hand done, and you had to shoot on film. And there was no digital technology where you can shoot. Even your 2D animation, you had to paint on cells or paper,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you had to shoot it with
So
auxiliary
very
camera.
tedious, process.
Very tedious process. So nobody wanted to get into it. Like color filling
Yeah.
used to be like buckets of paint, which you have to paint on every drawing. And
Wow.
as you know, every single second has 24 or 12 drawings. So every drawing in different layers has to be painted. Of course, we used to put a lot of juniors to work, which is good. But it was that is how it used to be. So nobody wanted to. It was almost like jail term, that if you get into animation, a good 4 years is going to go into that. So I was very reluctant to get into it, but somehow I started enjoying that space, and I really like the whole aspect of animation where you pre-plan everything. It has helped me immensely in my advertising filmmaking career and other filmmaking career, where even for live action, I would do a proper storyboard where exact frames will be planned, strategic frames will be drawn. It will be planned, and my shoot will be so precise that even my director of photography, cameraman who comes to work with me, would be like just looking at my storyboard and say, okay, now we have to put the camera here. Okay, we shoot. So the shoot is pretty precise. I don't shoot a lot of length, which is not necessary. So all these decisions, because in animation, as you know, we pre-edit.
Because
In
you
live,
get the clarity. Yeah.
yeah, in live action you shoot and then you edit. So in
Make it
animation,
small.
yeah, you
You
make it
have a
small.
yeah.
Yeah. So in animation, we make only the length that is required. So there is an sense of economy there, which if you apply into live action, it's great. Of course, it's possible to get variety of performances, all those things. You will have to go for multiple takes, but it is still very precise, your work. So I got into an industry where there were no takers for animation. When I finished in '97 from NIT, I had to get into a job where I had to work like a graphic designer or a multimedia designer. That time used to be called, where you have to work on CD-ROM games and other things.
Okay.
So I worked in a company for 1 year like that.
Okay. This was your
Before
first job.
this was my first job, where I got this opportunity in Mumbai. I worked with a company called Western Outdoor Interactive, and I was working as a senior graphic designer, where I could actually work in different roles. I was also a visualizer. I was also a graphic designer. I could also animate. I could also put music to my work. So I could apply myself in more than one ways, which was very satisfying for me. And eventually, I was asked to create content at Famous Studios. Famous Studios is a big uh, premise where they have a lot of hiring. They hire a lot of studio floors for shoots. Most of the shoots from the from the beginning of Bollywood has happened there, and they have cutting edge technology and all those things. They wanted to get into animation, and they called me to set up an animation department, and that's how I made this company called Famous House of Animation.
Okay.
Because I started it with the help of fellow Canadians and others. I I got all the people under one roof. We all used to work there to create content. In 98, 99 is too early for content and animation
Yeah,
content.
yeah. Yes,
So
yes, yes.
um,
IPs.
IPs was too early, and we were too overexcited kids. We are like 23, 24. We are ready to conquer the world with animation, and that the spirit was all high. So there
Yes.
was me, there was Vaibhav, there was Geetanjali, there were a few others from Zika those times,
Mm-hmm.
Mehul, and many
Mm-hmm.
others who all ganged up. We were all wanting to create a movement in animation, but unfortunately, it was short-lived because there was no market for it, and we had to concentrate on sustaining ourselves with the help of advertising till a time came where we could actually expose our animated content to the world. So that was the beginning, and we started sustaining in the advertising and promo scene with Channel V and other areas. I will probably show a clip of our
Mm-hmm.
films just for everyone to understand what sort of work we have been doing. So I have been from then I have been part of at least 400 or to 500 odd films. I have been in the direction and production of so many films with so many different brands in the last 20 years, which has given so much of perspective of things, of ideas,
Yes,
how
that's
the
right.
trends
Yes.
have changed, how many trends we have set ourselves in the Indian advertising scenario. We have introduced new mediums into the forte where people were not aware of it, and all this was possible, I think, mainly because we are working on a very short duration ads, 30
Yeah,
seconds or
yeah.
1 minute. So that was
Mm-hmm.
great to work with. Yeah, so that's how I got into Famous, and the whole thing began there.
Great. So in such durations, you can actually try experiments also, like in short duration films. Yeah.
Absolutely, because they all have a purpose, and for all of them, if you are trying to give them a unique new look, new clutter breaking sort of a form for their stories, it will just
Uh,
help people take notice, because you can see live action everywhere, you can see people oriented films everywhere, but animation is even now it is rare. So
mhm.
we have so much possibilities to expose new techniques of illustration to bring them into life, and so many mediums are there. We introduced clay animation with ICICI Chidamani, Amazon battery ads,
Yeah,
etc. So people hadn't seen such things. It's not like we invented something, but people hadn't been exposed to it, and this really helps us help people widen their horizon to understand about animation, I think.
yeah.
So
Okay. Uh, there are a lot of students we have here who are like prospective students who would love to come to design field, and some of
ah,
them I see that they are confused in between within the communication design.
ah.
What is the essence and the opportunities or possibilities could animation offer in terms of a discipline? Could you talk about that? That the students, if they want to make clear in their head, so you are the best person right now can put a light on that how and what are the opportunities animation in terms of a discipline we have in this country. So
I think so in 97 in 94 95 at NID, if I was the only student that opted for animation at NID today, there is a rush for animation. I think the biggest rush from the students to join any discipline, I think it is for animation. I think majority of the people lean towards that area. So
yes,
that I think, and there are the amount of animations institutes that have mushroomed all over, which may be doing justice to animation learning, and some of them, majority of them, may not be. But the fact is that there is a demand for animation and animators. This is in two different folds. The demand in India for animation has increased in the last 20 years immensely. And in the last 5 or 6 years, we have seen a very positive trend in people trying to crack uh, content in animation, which I see as a positive, because more and more animated content created in India will help um, the medium to be seriously considered by the masses as an entertainment medium.
Yeah.
Today, the way Bollywood is perceived as the only national entertainment medium, I mean, which all the states kind of accept. Um, we are a
Yeah.
huge country, right? We are a huge country of diversity. In this country, to have one single, even having a single language is difficult, because the culture is so diverse. The kind of literature that people have access to are so different. But the, the polarities are so diverse. So to have one particular for animation to become such a strong medium, it will take some time, but it has done it really well in the last uh, 5-7 years. We have a lot of
Yeah.
series like Chota Beam, and there is Role Number 21. There is, I think, Motu Patlu. All these things. I'm not saying they're great in terms of quality, but they're great in
But
terms
it
of
has
content.
started.
It
Yeah.
has started. That's how
Yeah.
it begins.
Yeah.
If, it's teething period for Indian animated content is how I would call it, which means
Yeah.
that there is a lot of requirement for people to create animated content. And when
And
in yeah,
and in
when
such time,
Indians,
actually,
yeah,
where you don't have people around you, they can't come together. They have to maintain a social distancing. I hope the animation will get opportunity to that.
it is really. I mean, I have got opinion from international people also that there's a lot of demand for animation right now.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that this is the time that is going to continue like this, but I'm saying, in India, uh, we are warming up to it very fast. So I can see that there is a humongous potential. And animation has so many applications. It's not just
Yeah.
entertainment. In education, there is an application. There is so much of animation in the medical
Yeah.
and other industry. There is e-learning possibilities are there. There are so many learning modules that are made with animation. There is so much of application in animation that I don't think animators would go unemployed. I mean, today there are
Mhm.
so many animators that I want to employ, but they don't want to work because they want to do freelance, because they have so much
Okay.
opportunities as freelancers. So
Mhm.
uh, the tables have turned. That today, if you have to make a film, we have to approach a lot of freelancers rather
Right.
than
Right.
trying to hire people in a studio. I mean, studio models are also existing, but it is opening up. The opportunities are there for people. So I see it as a positive, like a huge positive compared to the time I started off.
Uh, Suresh, could we see what is there anything you have to show us? I'm sure you have tons of minutes and hours of things to show, but
Yeah,
our students may get more, inspired to see your
I'm
creation.
just going to show one montage of our films so people can
Okay,
understand, a glimpse of the work that we do.
okay,
So I'm going to play this.
okay, that would be great. So this is all 2D, 3D mix. Suresh, hello. Uh, Hello.
Yeah,
I think some of them are they're not getting the sound. Listening the sound? Able to listen the sound?
I can listen to the sound. You're not getting?
Yeah. I mean, it was getting coming, then it got stopped actually. Uh,
Oh, okay.
just can you play? Okay. Yeah. Play.
Not co- not coming.
Mm, I can hear you, but this stopped coming. The
Okay. Oh, it was not there from the beginning.
in to me, I heard it a little, and then it stopped somehow. So, how much is left? This one,
Just
the video.
it's almost like 30 seconds or something. I think.
Okay.
I'll play.
Yeah, yeah. We'll finish this and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry if it was not audible. I think it's a pity that
yeah. It worked yesterday though.
it was there in the beginning.
Uh, it came for a bit and then it just did not come.
Oh, that's something very peculiar.
So
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
sure students have seen the visuals surely, and there are tons of different kinds of mediums and techniques you have used. Uh, what are the challenges you feel to mix when you mix two or three mediums? And I see in most of your films you have live action and then claymation together, 2D is happening, 3D is happening, all of VFX happening together. So,
It's like this, Sanjay. Basically, what is what is the best use of medium or combination of mediums to make an impact is the
mhm,
core attempt. The core attempt is to make sure that whatever product we are building, what is the best way to give it a audio visual translation with maximum impact. See, there are different schools of thought in this. Okay.
mhm,
For example, Pixar does most of their animation in one style, or for Aardman, they do one sort of
one
animation,
style.
all for all the stories. We believe that there is so much possibilities in animation and live action. There's so much of design possibilities are there, and one can explore so many different ways to depict them. So we feel it has to be exposed. So simply we get excited when I get an idea. There are the designer in me kind of wakes up. I always think, what is the best way to do? So then, when the client comes and tells me that let's do a live action film, I sometimes I
Mhm.
go and tell that, but let's do an animation, and it has happened vice versa. Sometimes they come and tell me, let's do a live and animation film. I have told them no, but this idea will work much better if you do a very interesting live action
Right, right.
idea. So it has worked in both ways, and our attempt I will not say that it was very well thought out strategy to make it our company's
Mhm.
USP or something, but we continue to do so. That we often, maybe a lack of one signature style is also could be the reason, but I believe it is a strength in one way. That one can work with different mediums. So what happens in even in our studio, people are exposed to working in multiple methods. They are
Right.
not just working on one
One
thing. So
thing.
that's one thing. So they have been exposed to filmmaking in general. So they would get exposed to this sort of animation, that sort of animation. So for every project the pipeline changes. It is never that one sort of pipeline. So I feel efficacy of storytelling is most important for an animation filmmaker, and especially like a
Okay.
designer who takes animation as a medium. For us, it is very, very important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. I think now we can start and take some questions. And
Okay.
I already have
Sure.
some questions lined up over here,
Okay.
but
Great.
I will surely filter them if they are overlapping to each other or something
Sure.
common
Sure.
to.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Uh, some questions I will also ask on students' behalf as well.
Sure. Sure.
So, like one is in your journey, what kind
Huh.
of common challenges you faced, and how did you overcome with that?
If we can just explain the common challenges. The challenges are so many, Sanjay. To be
Okay,
really
what are the
honest,
challenges? Let's say.
there are many, many challenges. No, so okay, one of the key challenges is sustainability. How do you
Okay.
sustain a studio? We are as a studio. How do we are in a city, expensive city like Bombay, which is also fortunately the hub of media and advertising and all those creative works. There is access to good, talented people, etc. But how do we sustain ourselves doing the kind of work that we want to do? It is always a hard call when you are stuck to your ground and say that this is the kind of work that we are doing, and
Mhm.
this is what we want to do. So for that, there are not so many takers all the time, but there are very specially people who look at a certain kind of quality work, so they come to us. So we had to that is one challenge that one always faces. Even till date we face that challenge that okay, we may be doing exceptionally different work. For that there could be a certain amount of cost that we incur. How many people are ready to
Right. Right.
pay that sort of money? We in India, we also are constantly fighting ignorance of people,
Mm.
where people don't know about these mediums so well. I mean, right now we have 110 people who may be vaguely aware of this field, but there are so many who have no idea about these disciplines. And
Okay.
and even in the industry, I have,
Mhm.
often find people who have no. You need to educate a lot of people. So that is something that you have to do constantly. In the 20 years I've been
Right.
working, if I've worked on 450 films, we have always used that opportunity to educate a few people about what animation is, what
That's great.
medium is, what is design. So when they go back and talk to somebody else, they will always have that notion that okay, it's not as simple as we thought. Using a software and just doing something, which is the
Mhm.
common thing that I am asked. I mean, it is not the software. Most of the
Mhm.
people think it is a software that does animation. We started at a time when there were no software. So I think you if you have it is not very easy. Software is a tool like a pencil. I mean, it's not something that is going to lead you. Biggest misconception that conception people have is that if you learn a software, then you will know the craft. Is something that I often face, and because of that, people devalue your work, your
Right.
human, your thought process, your artistry. All those things are looked down upon by people many times because they think, "अरे आजकल तो computer है, software है, तो what is
Mhm.
animation? It
Yeah.
must be all
Just
done by animation. It all
yes.
computerized. No, nowadays everything is computerized. No, that is a very big notion. But how do people should understand how are the new cars designed? How are the new forms of the cars designed? Computers don't think about these new designs. How is Tesla designed as a car? It's not designed by a computer. It's from the human brain, which is gone through a design training, which is thinking about this thing, right? So,
Yeah.
and that is
After
the
all,
value.
mm, After all, brain only have designed the computer itself.
Exactly. So, that people forget about it. So there is,
Yeah.
and that is used as an excuse for devaluing stuff. And a lot of people also, we are always fighting that battle. Okay, what is the difference between that guy gives it for this much money, where you are giving it for X amount of, what
Right.
is that? Why would we pay you that extra? That is something that we always face as challenge.
Okay.
So education, the medium, and yeah, the of course sustainability is one of the key things that everybody is thinking about. I think today's times, especially with COVID and everything, everyone is thinking about how you sustain.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
how do you pay for your bills?
Makes sense.
So,
Yes. And it's practical.
so
So another question. I'll take another question. I
yeah,
think I'll just quickly take as many possible so students can get benefit. So this one
yeah.
is coming from Arundhati. Says, "Sir, can you please discuss the scope of VFX and animation in India, both in terms of job and salary?" I think this is the most common question keeps coming. So
Huh.
the job and the salary. So salary, I don't know. I mean, I'll leave it up to you to answer it.
So what is the salary that people would get?
And what is the scope of jobs in India right now?
No, see, the scope of job is directly proportional to the growth of animation.
Yeah.
So as much the animation as a medium, a content creation medium increases, which is a demand from the masses, there will be
Mhm.
so much more animators that are required to create the content that is in the demand. So it is a clear demand and supply thing. The demand is increasing. Like I said, in the last 20 years, I have only seen it increasing for animation.
Mhm.
I have seen more institutes coming and teaching animation. Why would institutes set up animation departments if there was no demand for animators? There is a dearth of good animators even till date. We always find it difficult. We, in our company also, we always train them for the first 6 months or 1 year for them to be ready for actually contributing to the productions. So it is
Mhm.
not very easy to there is a lot of demand that is only going to increase, which also clearly says that the job opportunities are going to increase. Now, do you get a five-figure salary when you start at this job? No, you don't get. You shouldn't be expecting it. First of all, I think you should, as a student, you should get confident with your skill. I think that is the most important thing. Whether if you are confident with your skill and what you can deliver, you can dictate the price that you want from the market. It is definitely something that everybody would respect. If you are skilled, if you're really good skilled, and if you go out there and ask a fresh company that I want 55,000 or 60,000 as my starting salary, they will give you.
Mhm.
They will give you. I mean, there is no question asked. People would definitely pay you at least that. If you are okay, I've done animation, I've gotten into it, but I'm not that well equipped to animate and tell this thing. People will pay you 20K.
Mhm. Okay.
If you're going to
Uh,
spend most of the initial 1 year in a company learning the craft, then you cannot expect. They are also investing so much money on you, so you cannot expect so much in return, because you are going to benefit at the end of the day, because they are going to teach you.
right. Uh, let's yeah. Uh, Another question I would take from Saksham Gupta, coming from.
Ah,
There are many different art styles that can be used for animation. Do you think people should find one art style and stick to it, or should people be fluent in several art styles?
I think versatility, exposure to versatility is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think being a specialist from the day one is not a great thing. I mean, then you are almost like you're like a frog in a well. You don't know what the world is made of. You don't know what is this entire world made up of. If you don't have the exposure to so many different styles and art forms that are
Mm-hmm.
possibilities of animation, you cannot say that okay, this is my signature style and I will always do it. You need to get that exposure. You may specialize eventually with one style. But I will not suggest that you go out there with your style, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a style of my own drawing when I got into NID. I had to unlearn it completely. I used to be very proud of my drawing style. I realized it was like shit when I learned drawing at NID. Like really, the drawing at NID really taught me something else. And the style
Mm-hmm.
that eventually came about was much more solid and structured. Yet it looked free flowing because there was some basic understanding and structure to that thing. So you cannot get uh, comfortable with your own style so early in life. Yeah, there are a lot of genius, sort of inborn genius people who have all these things. I don't think they need to study also. So
Okay.
they can animate or whatever without even going to an institute. So it's a different thing. But I think exposure to diversity is very important to know what you should specialize into. So I always tell my people also that you be a generalist, then be a specialist. First, you should be a generalist, and then you can be a specialist. It's like a doctor. If
Exactly.
you don't know MBBS,
Uh-huh.
if you don't know basic, if you don't have the basic the doctor's degree, you cannot become a super specialist surgeon or an eye specialist or whatever. You need to know the basics. So um, you cannot say no to exposure of diversity.
Yeah, yeah. Because art is something that you can't stick to one thing. I'm sure you make your own style, but that too, going through so much of work, it eventually becomes a style. But no one
Yeah.
should really hardly look for a style, because I've seen a lot of times students like really juggling and struggling to and eager to get my own style, that okay, I'll make
Uh-huh.
my style first. But no, that doesn't happen, because you have
That
to.
doesn't happen. That's
Yeah.
that's not advisable at all. I
Yes,
don't
yes,
think
yes.
you're learning for that.
Yeah. This is a good question. How can animation help design better products?
How can animation help design better products? Animation, uh, I don't know what is the inner meaning of that, because we
I think
use.
probably he's yeah, because animation is anyway used right now quite a lot for gamification of products and showing how products are used.
Oh, for the
And
demo and okay. For the user, I mean, it's great, no? Because animation, when you see a demo or a instruction in an animated form, it is very neutral. It's very neutral. It is very precise. It's very clear and clean. So that it is a great application of animation in those aspects.
okay,
In design, in the products, yeah, I think that's the way probably the person is seeking the answer. No, I mean, it's a great tool rather than shooting. Like if you must have seen internationally also, when you travel, most of the airline safety instruction videos are in animation. They always try and show it in
yeah, yeah,
animation because it's much effective like that than using real people.
yeah. Uh, this is interesting question. Probably you will laugh on it, and I'll. I mean, this Kanpuriya Sharma asking, sir, how did you come up with this name? It's really cool and it is amazing. Eeksaurus. So, could you tell the story behind
So
that?
the story is nothing. Eeks is a nickname that I got at an ID during my years there. Uh,
Hmm.
Maybe it's got to do with my name, E Suresh Kumar, ESK, or I would presume the way I looked. People, some people went like Eeks, they went like that probably. I don't know, but Eeks is a nickname that kind of stuck to me from NID days.
Hmm.
And okay, many of the people don't know about that history, but we took it as a base for our company's name, Eeks the dinosaur. So
Okay.
Eeksaurus is like Tyrannosaurus. It's a new
Okay.
sort of dinosaur in this sort of form. So, and also it also in Hindi we kind of named it. It's Eeks or us. It's the Eeks and team that makes it Eeksaurus. And
Wow.
yeah, and if you say very fast Eeksuresh, it becomes
Suresh.
like, yeah, Eeksaurus becomes like that.
Yes.
So there are
Yeah.
many ways that it can be
Yeah.
interpreted or misinterpreted.
Great,
Yeah.
great. That was very interesting to know. Another one I will take up. Swarnima asking, Sir, where do
Huh.
you find your inspirations from for your work,
Okay.
and how do you make the topics relatable to everyone? I mean, which relates to everybody.
One of the things that I would like to do, I keep doing is I keep a very open eyes and ears uh, to my surroundings. I am very sensitive to what is happening around me. I try to see and record things that happen around. I always record it in my own way. I journal them. I draw every day. I mean, I see whatever I see every day. I draw or jot it down in my book. The ideas that come to my mind, the kind of incidents that I see or hear. I mean, it all stems an idea for me, and it becomes a plot for me. So, like many years ago, in 2015, 16, I have a huge collection of sketchbooks, which I keep referring to once in a way to see what all things I have done in the past, any ideas that are jotted down, etc. It really helps me to keep recording like this. So even if I'm sitting in a flight, I would see something, the way another person is behaving. Maybe somebody is sitting, if there's a couple who's sitting besides me, how they are reacting to each other is also something that interests me. I would look at people, what they wear, that interests me. If there is something weird that people are wearing, I would definitely sketch it out and keep it for my records. And there are so many things that you can see from around you, and that becomes my inspiration, really. And of course, movies, art, and books, that the stories that I read, uh, they all inspire me somewhere, but it all goes behind my mind. But what I see comes in the foreground. It whatever I see becomes very taza. It is very
Mm-hmm.
hot in my mind, and that is something that helps me often to come up with characters, whether it is fisherwoman and tuk tuk, the short film. It is from a real person I've seen. Tokri, the film that I've made, the short film with stop motion animation, is actually from an incident from real life. But it will have some impacts on me, and that that and it's nothing extraordinary. Aliens haven't given me too many inspirations, but I when I read about stories and stuff, I think about aliens also.
Okay.
uh, but yeah, creatures. My dog, who he's one living creature who has his own story. I see a lot of story in him when he
It's
roams around,
about
like
keeping your
now,
eye open and observing.
eyes and ears open. Yeah. And
Yes, yes.
keep recording incidents. I Nowadays we have to do even when you are sweeping the house, because sometimes you have to sweep the house, and you get so much of my dog is a beagle. It's a small uh,
Mm.
dog.
I met
The
him once.
entire Yeah, you met him. The entire house every second day has so much of hair. I mean, almost his size hair, and he still has so much hair. I mean, I have a feeling that in the night or whenever we are asleep, he just combs himself and drops his hair everywhere so that he gives us work for the next day. This is
I
the
just
notion
got
I
an
have about him.
idea of a film.
Yeah.
I see a dream sequence. He's combing your hair and telling that these are not yours. These are not mine. These
it's
are
it's
yours.
it's all mine. So there is some conspiracy theory that goes on. So ideas keep coming from there. You think
Right,
about
right, right.
something, you dwell into something, there is an idea. So
Yeah.
I really feel that our surroundings can definitely give us
Okay. Great. Great.
answers.
Great. That's nice. Another. I'll take one. Another one. Many times students wants to pursue animation as their career, but they are not that good in the beginning with their sketching. So what are the exercise you suggest for them, so they could be like more prompt for animation?
I think the preparation for animation or any design, for that design discipline, that I think drawing is a must.
Oh,
I've seen I have seen the biggest of designers, automobile designers, architects, filmmakers, like look at Satya or any of them. The drawing has only helped them communicate and
mhm,
translate their ideas, which are intangible,
mhm.
and which are open-ended with words, to be very precise in terms of form. When you have drawing skill, that this is what I'm thinking, there is no ambiguity. A drawing is shown to a person, and that's it. If you have to sell an idea, you need to have that. If you have that one vision, this is what I'm thinking. Even if you are talking about a business plan, if you sketch it out nicely on a paper with a pencil, okay, this is what you're doing. You show it to an investor. He looks at it. He understands broad view of how your thought process is, and that's what somebody appreciates when you're doing.
Right.
Sketching is very, very important. It is something that cannot be replaced by computers or your phone or your apps. Nothing. Sketching is
Exactly.
extremely important because that personalizes your recording of what you see.
Yeah.
That really makes it your own. Nothing else can be. Your phone camera will can shoot a picture like other person, but your
Yeah.
sketching is your own
Yeah.
interpretation.
And this goes on a serious note to my students as well. I hope they're listening.
Ah.
Okay. Another one. Which animator work you really got inspired from, or you really like globally?
So during NID days, one of the animators that really drove me was Paul Reason. Paul Reason
I
from
knew
National
it
Film Board
was
of
you.
Canada. Yeah. So Paul
I,
Reason was a huge inspiration. Many a times I started drawing like him, imitating him and his art and stuff like that. But he was one of the supreme inspiration for me to get into animation. Miyazaki is one of the masters. I really love his way of filmmaking. I feel if he can create a film in the scale and the kind of simplicity of storytelling with so much of modern uh, elements and ideals incorporated in them, like him for India, I think we will become a extremely active animation society. And my attempt is to like kind of create a cinema scale, because cinema makes a big difference. It's in today's times, I don't know, but in a big screen, when you see a film, it creates a massive moment. So I really adore Miyazaki's work. I love Michael Dudok-David's work. I mean, I really like his film, and there are several others who I like in certain films of their work. But yeah, these are a few of the people who have had a
okay.
major impact in my animation place.
Thank you. Another one I'll take. We'll just take a couple of more. And
Okay.
how can we spread the awareness about animation in India and gain the respect it deserves in Indian society?
Um, how can we?
How can we spread the awareness about animation and gain the respect it deserves?
I think the only way to gain the respect it deserves um, is a challenging proposition. But
Yeah,
more people getting making animated films and expressing their ideas and stories is a definite way for its spread. There are, I think the last 3 4 years I've seen a lot of short films coming out of India. We uh, we've also have it's in our studio we have an incubation center where we actually take on enthusiastic students, like really good with animation, and they want to dedicate their life in animation filmmaking, sponsor their project. I mentor them personally in my studio for 9 months or 10 months and make them do a proper film, which is industry standard and Eeksaurus standard. So we have to have more people having that interest that, it's not just the money that makes a difference, but, the work that you love to do, the stories that you would love to say and tell people, that needs to be told in animation. That is very, very important. I think once that happens, there will be a lot of spread of animation. People will start accepting animation, and with more acceptance comes industrial acknowledgement also. In industry works in a very commercial sort of a way. I mean, if
Yeah.
something can fetch a lot of money, it works well in the industry level. For Bollywood, um, I mean, for example, for the VFX industry, it was a boom when Bahubali became a hit without a big hero like the Khans. There was no Shah Rukh, Salman, or Amir Khan, and yet it became the biggest
It did a
blockbuster that
blockbuster. Yeah.
that that made the maximum money in the country as compared to any other film. So that was an eye-opening thing for people, that okay, this is a possibility. Now, if animation does a similar phenomenon, which does internationally, Kung Fu Panda or any other such films, they always like rake in a lot of money. But then they are a very simplified formula, which is for the masses to
Mhm.
consume. But you need to always nurture the artistry. So you have to keep making short films, which will have only few people appreciating it, but that is important for the propagation of animation as a art form. That then only it will gather the weight that as an art form, or a medium of storytelling to survive and thrive. So uh, I feel people have to continue to make films in animation, whether or not they have full resources and money. They shouldn't wait. They should just keep making it. And that's how we started doing it ourselves, so that people see that as an example. And I'm very encouraged that today many people are encouraged to make films, putting in their funds, because there is no
Yeah.
point in complaining that government is not giving this, that, so we will there is no point. You have
Yeah.
to like sustain
You have
with
to
what you
start
have.
off somewhere, and it has
Absolutely.
to start with the
And
individual.
yeah, and then it becomes a movement, and it has already
Right.
become a movement. Yeah.
Uh, Another one. This one is interesting one, and I also had written the same question, so I will
क्या बात है?
probably ask this. Yeah,
हाँ,
because I faced the same issue when I was a student.
हाँ.
Hello, sir. As a student, animation student, how do you keep yourself burning out on a longer personal projects and finish set project with the consistent quality?
So burnout is something that you will
It
face.
happens
Yeah, it
that.
happens to people, but you need to. Yes, when you are working on a single project with so much focus day and night, you're only thinking about that project, and you're only working on that project. The burnout
Mhm.
is something that could happen. The best thing is also to do is to nurture your other hobbies and other aspects. Like, I'm not saying film watching, but reading, or getting into music, or some other areas. You need to keep them active, like
Which
some
would
hobby
support
things
that to,
which would
yeah.
support that. You need breaks in between, which would be creatively enhancing and relaxing, not as much training as the production activities that you are into. But burnout often happens to people. It happens to me also. I'm not an exception. Sometimes I just feel when I'm overburdened with work, I don't know what next step I would take. But then, if I go and maybe do hum a few lines of a song or something, and then I'm recharged. You need to figure out your own recharging mechanisms to get back to your work, because if not for you, nobody can do that work, right? I mean,
Right, right.
it's easier said than done, but it is it is a must that you need to have your side hobbies and other things which will keep your mind occupied. That has worked for me.
Another one I'll take. What is the best piece of advice till now which you remember and have gotten and which have actually made the huge difference? Is there any advice which you have got till now?
The best advice that I would consider, uh, which has really helped, is something that my wife tells me, which is to not compromise at
Right.
whatever cost. That if you lose an opportunity, you lose an opportunity, but don't compromise. Don't go and do things that you don't believe in, that you don't enjoy, that uh, you don't have faith in. So just don't do things like that. Don't take up things, because that if you take up something, okay, this is on pace very well, I take it up, but it gives me hell of a time. It's better that I don't take up such a project, and I would say yes to something that is not so well paying, but it gives me a lot of creative satisfaction where I can build it as something that people will remember for ages, and
Mhm.
never give up.
Right.
Never give up.
That applies to everywhere actually, whichever
Yeah,
field you are in.
and
Yeah.
never give up on things. That is something that I would keep saying. Tell people that no, don't give up on things. Just give it another chance. You should keep at it. Keep at it.
Yes.
It's something. Keep trying till you can perfect it. You may not get the right results. It's like weight loss. If you try
Yeah.
and if you don't keep at it, and if you want immediate results, it will not make you happy. You will not get the scales down unless you're seriously ill or something. But it's important to keep at it whatever you're doing consistently, so that you lose your weight nicely and you feel good about
Mhm.
it. Ultimately, you need to feel good about it.
Right. Right. Thank
And
you.
the worst advice,
Yeah. Let's do that also. Yeah.
the worst advice that I hear is people they saying that money is everything.
Ah.
A lot of people say that money is everything, and they have their own justification for it. But I don't know. I don't really think that is a right way to go about life. Um,
I
you know,
truly appreciate Suresh. I have been to your studio and I've met you there also, and met like you were really like what you said, the worst advice. I don't think you taking that seriously at all, because you are doing your commercial stuff fine, that's there, but you're still keeping that inner animated guy who wants to make films, who wants to help others make a film, and that is going on a good scale. So that's a really really good thing.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I think it is important for our small community to become
Yeah.
bigger and make an impact at
Yeah.
a national level.
Okay. I'll take two last questions, and
Okay,
I think then we'll be close. We will be coming to the end of this
close.
beautiful session.
Okay.
I would love to stretch it more, but we have the time limits.
I think from 120, 140 people or something, it's trickled down to half now. So I think people
Yeah.
had kept that much time for the
Mhm.
session, and now they want to
So,
leave. So
just a maybe last question.
quickly, yeah,
This
yeah.
is a technical one. As we know, animation is all about timing and spacing. So, how do you improve the timing knowledge while animating?
I think today with your softwares that you have, you can with your same drawings, you can keep trying out different timings and understand what happens with them.
Mm.
Um, I think that is a very very hardcore technical question. It's a practice thing actually. When you crack the timing thing, some people have cracked it. I've seen them, but I've seen people who have experienced it for years also haven't cracked it. The Because I think it needs a very dedicated effort to figure out how to go about it. And it's even if you take a walk cycle or just an action of throwing, how would you
Mm.
time it and see to get the best impact? It's there.
Mhm.
And how do you bring out from their comic timing, serious, realistic timing? All these things is something in your hands. You need to keep trying various options and find out. We had an exercise at an ID where we had to analyze a shot. We had to trace from the monitor frame by frame, and the same shot we had to read time and figure out, bring another meaning to it. So that was a very interesting exercise, because there is already, it's a famous Disney movie. If you take, the action has very preconceived design thinking that this is what it's supposed to do, and you're trying to
Mhm.
change it to give another emotion to it. How do you do that? Like, if somebody's talking like this, and if you're trying to make it like, if you're trying to make it like that, what is that? How does it become different? The same amount of drawings, but just retiming it. I think this is something that you have to crack by yourself and understand what timing does. And with today's lot of software, even Premiere and stuff also gives you that
Yeah.
option.
Great, great. One last comment I will read. It's not a question, and
Huh.
I'm sure it was an animation webinar. It is, so I'm sure the funny one will come. So somebody is asking: is keeping beard attracts the designer vibes?
Okay, this is a very tricky question. I always, from the beginning,
I'm
I wanted to keep a beard. I'll
okay.
tell you, when I was in the ninth grade in the school, I was not getting any beard, and I was feeling really worried that my dream of having a beard will be like all futile. I used to I used to shave ulta, because
To
somebody
get it
told me that
faster.
faster. So so it was some fascination. I'm from Kerala, so there's a lot of you see all the communist leaders that you admire, where they look. I mean, today even non-communist leaders also have beards, but Marx, or Lenin, or if you look at Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, all these guys had sported a beard. So you felt the beard is in style, and I always was fascinated by bearded people. Even in our school, I studied in a Chinmaya Vidyalaya. So Swamiji, who is our, I mean, he's the founder of our school, Swami Chinmayananda
Okay.
ji. So he's he yeah he passed away in 90s, in the early 90s. So he used to have a very flowing beard also, like
Long one.
the long one. So
Yeah.
beard has nothing to do with designer. I don't know how many designers sport beard, but
Mhm.
it was a personal fascination. That's why I kept it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind just taking quick one? One more
Sure,
quick.
sure, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
What were the issues did you face any while executing Fisherwoman music video, and how did you overcome?
Fisherwoman, that's a short film.
Okay.
That is,
Yeah, as somebody's written, so that's
yeah. It is.
it's
It's a.
mm.
Uh, Somebody says designers support long hair, not beards. Okay. So, Fisherwoman, and I'll tell you about the genesis of that. I mean, I thought about that film when I saw at a traffic junction with one like really huge fisherwoman who is more leaning towards manliness than womanliness. She was walking with this basket of fish, and she was squeezing through the traffic jam. And between the vehicles, she was crossing the road, and she kind of pushed and pulled people and vehicles. Vehicles were not moving, obviously, but she was like really hasty and walking with so much anger and irritability, and she would be looking at people and abusing them, and she was very rough and tough. So I was, in my mind, I thought, I mean, she would have been so much happier if she had a choice of her own. which probably, like what if she had a auto rickshaw? I mean, maybe her wish is to like have a rickshaw, and she can be free from this whole thing of selling fish and listening to people every day. They're bargaining. It's a boring thing. Every day people would come and tell you what you're selling is not worth it. Sell it to me for lesser. Sell it to me for lesser. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's a mundane life, which is where people don't value your worth at all. And whatever you're selling, they always talk to you about that. And then I thought, maybe she wants to get out of this life and be free. What if she owned a rickshaw? Because that's one vehicle that she I mean her
Aimed off,
she
maybe.
yeah she dreamt of, and that she felt would give her that access to the world that she's not visited ever. So it was that seed that kind of gave, and we thought we'll run it as a in-house exercise for our 3D animators, uh, which mostly in 3D animators become very technical, software-oriented people. So for them to be in a space where they start thinking story, they start thinking long format. So they work in a little more integrated way. I initiated this as a team exercise. It was more like a team building exercise, but it was supposed to be a background exercise. Whenever we got money project where commercial projects, we would stop that and start working on. We took 6 years to make that film. It is a 15-minute film. Took 6 years to make it. It was going in the slow back burner. So it is something that uh, I mean, that's the first national award we won for Fish Oman and Tuk Tuk. Yeah. So it was
65th one, right?
63rd.
Okay.
65th was for Tokri. Yeah. 65th
Oh yeah.
was
Okay.
Tokri.
Okay. Okay, great. It was really inspiring, Suresh, and I would request you just one last bit of advice. Please give to my students, and please repeat that you need to draw. You need to draw. You need to draw, and you need to draw. So,
You have to. I haven't shown any of my sketches, guys, but I have at this point in time also I keep some 5 to 6 different sketchbooks which I draw on a daily basis. So it is
I'm
very,
sure
very
whoever
important.
is there right now are interested. So we could see
I
quickly
can
some.
I or they can see it on my Instagram or
Okay.
this thing.
Okay.
You can just put it at the rate Suresh Ariyat. Should I
Okay.
put it in
Okay.
the chat or something, or in the question answer? Answer
You
live.
can answer that, and
I
or
can
I'll share it
uh,
with the students. And
my
also some of them asking that where can see their films, your films, where they can see. Is
okay,
there a
that also
place?
I'll write. I'm just this question answer will be accessible to everyone, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think for the other. Yeah, I think it will be.
And
Yes.
studios is um, how do I go?
Or you share it with me. I'll share with the students, so they all can be shared in one go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I'll share it with you.
Okay. Okay.
Even Facebook also has all the stories, so they
Yes.
can
Yes.
see
Yes.
it.
Okay.
I cannot
All
accept
right.
any more people, but I think they can see the public posts.
All right, Suresh. I really, really thank you so much and for your precious time. I'm sure in this lockdown also you're completely on roller coaster making films.
Yeah, we
And
are we are doing a few films, yes,
yes,
continuously.
yeah. So we will seek your advice and guide off and on at multiple times, and we would wish to call you in the campus when the world is more normal, and
Yep,
have you there and
I would
visit our
love to come.
campus and
Oh,
interact with our students. And
yeah.
yes, so thank you so very much,
Absolutely. Thank you
Suresh.
so much,
Thank you
Sanjay. It
so
was a
much.
really
Thank you.
pleasant conversation. I really
Yes.
enjoyed. talking
Same here,
with
same.
you.
And my pleasure having you talk to
And
me.
it was wonderful to chat with you, and it didn't feel like it was a 1.5 hour session. It's probably one and
Oh
a half
yeah,
hour. Oh yeah,
it's 1.5.
yeah.
Yes.
It didn't feel like that. It's really really nice. I wish all the prospective students the best to get into their uh, favorite colleges, and all the students of UPS wish you all the best. Take care, and
And
be
draw.
home, and yeah, and keep at it, and keep at it. Like I said, don't give up. Keep at it. If your drawing is not improving the next week, go for it one more week. It'll show improvement. But my advice is, if you regularly practice even for a week, your results will start showing in 7 days flat. So 1 hour or 2 hours every day draw. There are many softwares, the platforms where you can go and draw. There are courses like freehand drawing courses that we used to have at NID. There are courses like that: 30-second drawing, 5 second drawing, 5 minutes drawing, 10 minutes drawing. Please go about go and do it daily. It makes your drawing so good. It'll help you translate your visions very clearly to other people. Thank you so much. Wish
Thank you,
you all the
Suresh.
very best.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And
Have
thank you.
yeah. Okay, Sanjay.